on to the server. Right, now let's go look at the server. Okay, now the package is sent to the server and now the server receives it. Okay, now here you go. This is the gateway, the MMO extension. It's the main class of the server. Everything that comes from the client will get through this class first. Alright, now in this class it's got the init, and like I told you already, this class it will bind the appropriate keyword to the handler for that. So it delegate the responsibility to other handler, so that it's easier for you to put everything in different in separate module, so it's easier for programming. Alright, now this one is called sentence form. It goes to sentence form handler class. That's what the client did. It put the keyword called sentence form, and then we just have to match it inside the server. You say, okay, if the keyword is sentence form, then pass that to sentence form handler. Right, now let's go look at sentence form handler. Okay, now it's SmartFox. This is the handler. It's like a built-in function that SmartFox use, a convention that SmartFox use. When you have a handler, you have to extend a class called base client request handler, and whenever that class is called, it will run this method called handle client request. So whatever you want to do with that request, you have to override that inside this method. Okay, now let's just look inside the method. What did I do in here? So I got the data that as an ISFS object, and here just retrieve the transform information from that data. I have my own method. It's got a class called transform, and it's got a method called from SFS object that I just have to pass this data into that method, and then it will retrieve the data. This is a custom class. I have a called transform here. You have to write it yourself, but I don't want to go into too much detail into that. You can just grasp the concept here. Right, so what I do is just retrieve the data from that, and this is the animation state. So this one is for transform, this is animation state, etc. And then I give it to world for validation. Like I said before, when you have the client here, it sends the transform to the server, then the server have to validate if that transform is valid or not. So that if it's not valid, you have to reject that transform, and if it's invalid, you have to reject the transform, and if it is valid, then you can accept it, and then you broadcast that transform to other clients so that everyone see the same thing. Right, now in this one I just call world. This is the world simulation here. It's called, there is a class called world here. All the simulation, all the mechanic of the game have to be simulated inside this class, and in there I have a method called move player, and I pass in this transform and the ID of the user into that, and then the world will check if it's valid, if it's possible to move into that position, and yeah. But if it's possible, like I say here, it's try to apply the new transform, and it return it back if it is valid. So if the transform is valid, it will return back to this variable. If it's not valid, it will return null. So yeah, now in here, this is what happens when it's valid. If it's not null, then it's valid. Then it will call a method sentence form, which is this method, and it pass the information to this method. Now what does it do? What does it do in here? Well, first it will just add another timestamp, because when you have to change the timestamp, because we use the time on the server as an official time. So when something that comes to something that in the server, it is official only in the server. It doesn't matter what it looks like or when you move inside your client. The server is the absolute one. So you have to change the timestamp in the server and put it inside the data before broadcasting to other clients, so that everyone know that this person is at this position at this time on the server. Okay, now yeah, so I add the time to the result transform. Here I have a method that can add that time, and then I add that time to the animation state as well, and then I inject that information inside the data, which is an ISFS object, which is that is similar to what I did with the client as well. So just inject that information into that. Then I put in the ID, so it knows that okay, which client this information is from. Alright, and then it just broadcasts the data to all the user inside the room. So it get the room, and then blah blah blah. You can you probably don't understand all this code because if you're not familiar with SmartFox, but you can just go look into the documentation. I will show you the sample after that, how what kind of example sample that SmartFox provides, that will give you all these codes, and you can just study them by yourself. Alright, now yeah, that's about it. You got the data from the client in this one, and it will call the appropriate handler, and that handler is sentence from handler. It will call the verb and then pass the transform to that verb. Verb will check that it is okay to move there, and then it will, the server will put in the time, that some extra stuff that you need, technical stuff that you need to synchronize everyone to make everything look smoother. And when that's done, you just broadcast that information to everyone inside the room. Oops. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's about it. That's what the server does in synchronizing the position. And then the information comes back to the client. Alright, now how do the client process the information that comes back from the server? In Network Manager, it's got another it also have the similar thing as the server, which is it delegates the responsibility. So if the server send back information about transform, about the changing someone's health, like when they are being attacked, you have to change their health, the server will send that information to you with a different keyword. So the client here will wait for that package, and then when it get the package, it will look at the keyword, and then it will delegate those package to the handler based on those keywords. So the same way the server handles its the request. So here there is a method called on extension response. It has to have that name. This is the name that is provided by SmartFox. You have to use this method so that whenever a package in SmartFox comes in to Unity, it knows what to do. This is where you tell it what to do. This method will be invoked automatically. So in here you tell it, okay, you get the command, which is the keyword. That's what I'm referring to as keyword, and the parameters. The parameter here is the SFS object, which is like the payload, like the data that you that I just talked about. So you have the keyword and then the data, and then you just check the keyword. Okay, if the keyword is transform, then you call appropriate handler to handle that data, and so on. You get health, time, etc. Okay, now when the server send the transform, it's got, there you go, the keyword is transform, and then it put the data, and then these are the user list, and it's sent as UDP. Alright, now when it comes to the client, it will check, okay, check that, okay, the keyword is transform, so this package should go to handle transform method. So let's go to handle transform method. Here you go. This is where the client handle that transform. Alright, now I got this is the data that I get. Now it will first, because in Unity my implementation is that all the network, the transform information is handled by network transform object, so I have to convert that ISFS object, extract the information, and then convert into network transform. So I got the network transform here, and the anim state, I pass it to anim state. I have the method to handle those stuff. How it's just call the method, and then it will just extract the information into animation state, and then animation state it will just animate the avatar, and so on. Alright, so what this does is like what I have told you in the previous video, is that when the client send the information to the server validate it, and then it will send back. So if like another client that receive that information that you have moved, it will simply get that information and render your avatar in the new position that you are at. Alright, so that's about it. That's what it does here. I don't have to go into detail about what the code does, and because you're going to have a different implementation than I do here, so there is no point in explaining all the technical stuff in here, because yeah, it's better if you like figuring it out how you want to implement it by yourself, because this is just my implementation. It's only for my game. Everyone else have their own idea how the game should work. So the idea, the main goal here is just to try to tell everyone what the concept is, and to show some technical basic foundation about how SmartFox server and Unity are integrated. Yeah, I think that should do. Should I go a little bit detail into these codes? Let me just see. Right. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about here. I got the network transform. I just transform this data into a network transform, and then I will check the recipient ID, because when in the server, when I pass the information, I also add the user ID, so that everyone know who that transform is for, and then they know that whether this is themselves or not. So if it's not themselves, they just render it, they just find someone that match that ID, and then it will render that avatar in a different position. So network transform player instance of get recipient. So I get all the recipient. No, I just get that recipient that have that user ID, and then I get recipient receive transform. So this is just all my, it's all custom methods, so it's really hard. If I want to explain that, I have to go back to all my codes that I write by myself, and then it's gonna be really complicated. It just take too long, and it's not gonna be really interesting to you guys. So I guess I'm just gonna cut it here. That is, I think I just gone through the whole process of synchronizing the position from one client to another, and I hope you understand all of that and can grasp all the concept. If you have any question about some more technical about how to program them, you can ask me later, but I'm not gonna cover it in this video, otherwise it will take way too long. Um, Alright, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.